We'll see. But let's get right to it. Davesterio coming in this week. Enjoy. All right, guys. Very special guest today. His name is Dave Stereo. How you doing today, Dave?
Yo, what's going on?
It is nice to talk to you today. There's got to give shout outs here to Goozy here on Discord. It was his idea to have you on here, and he set me down the rabbit hole that is Dave Stereo. So I'm fully prepared to ask you some hopefully interesting questions here.
All right, what's the first one, man?
Well, I got to start with the one I start with everything. So what kind of got you into this thing that's known as speedrunning, which is your kind of the main thing you do on Twitch now?
I feel like I have a story similar to a lot of people. I saw HEDQ 2013, and I don't know, man. I was so mesmerized by the Ocarina of Time speedrun, which I mean, it's kind of funny. I had actually not even played Ocarina of Time up until that point, and I was just so fascinated with the way the game worked and the glitches and stuff and the wrong warping. And it just got me fascinated with the concept of speedrunning. And then from that point on, I was like, okay, well, what other games do they do this for? And that's how I stumbled onto Final Fantasy speedrunning, and specifically Carnage 64 with the Final Fantasy 7 speedruns. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm going to dive headfirst right into this.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's not because that was kind of your way into speedrunning, but you kind of have a long gaming history. I saw if you want to read about Dave here, you can check out his Twitch profile. It's a great history. I'll try not to repeat too much, but you have a long history with gaming. It's fair to say, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have played a lot of different kinds of games over the years at like higher levels, and I don't know, man. I've always just wanted to, like, show every part of myself on my Twitch channel. But, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I thought it was cool to give kind of people a broad perspective of, like, how I've progressed through gaming, whether it be through, FPS genres at first, and then going on to the music rhythm games, and then, now tackling all kinds of genres with the speedrunning, whether it be RPGs or platformers.
Yeah, so you've always kind of been a person that wants to not just play yourself, you want to share with others the stuff you're doing, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Whether it be music or live streaming, I don't know. I just like doing things with people.
You talk about the Ocarina of Time run. That a lot of people. That's a huge milestone for speedrunning. So many people.
Oh yeah.
Found that and it was like blew their minds. So you pick up the Final Fantasy VII, which isn't. You think of speedrun, you don't think Final Fantasy VII right away, right? So what kind of led you to that game?
Okay. I mean, it's a game that I had played my entire life very frequently, and before I knew about the concept of speedrunning, like actually doing it to a timer and posting to a leaderboard and everything like that. What I used to do as a kid was I was like, okay, I'm going to beat Final Fantasy VII in one sitting, which would normally take me around 30 something hours. It required me to pull an all-nighter, but I wouldn't like time it or anything, and I would get up, use the bathroom, or like just eat food at my leisure also. And, it kind of was like, hey, I used to do this. I used to beat it in one sitting. Let's learn the strats and make it so we can actually do it in a shorter sitting. And, I don't know, just with speedrunning in general, it kind of seemed like a natural evolution of my playing because, I go back to thinking when I was a kid with Banjo-Kazooie and, it became a thing of, okay, how quickly can I beat this game? And, when I was a kid, I could do it in like 5 hours, 100%. And, I was stoked on that. And then, years later, you learn about, like, the speedrunning scene and everything. And then, you learn that people have routed out entire games, and it's amazing. It's incredible the work the communities do on the games. Mm-hmm. And, I don't know, man. You just get lost in it.
So yeah, well, I've heard like for RPGs, like half of the fun is routing it, and because it's not it's not as quick, reaction based. It's kind of routing is half of the battle with speedrunning RPGs. So how much work did you put in yourself? So you agree with that statement, I guess, first?
Oh yeah, incredibly. It's you have to know the setups and everything, all the shops, the menuing. Like menuing is well, personally, I think it's the most fun part of RPGs. I don't know what other people think, but I feel like menus are one of the more intense parts of the run, and you can also just lose a lot of time during them, and you can just set yourself up for fights incorrectly if you menu wrong and then you're dead. But, so in terms of Final Fantasy VII, though, I didn't do a whole lot with, coming up with routing. Yeah, I actually really didn't. I learned a lot off of, Carnage 64 and Ben, or Azhinev174. There's, other members of the community that personally taught me a lot, like, Mies Baker and some other people. But yeah, like, there's other people that did the routing for the game. I mean, I can say I was the first person that kind of started doing the any percent no slots category on PS4, which required a little bit of ironing out, but since it's based on the PC version, the PS4 version is based off the PC version, it was, pretty easy to kind of, like, make that happen. There are some differences with the PlayStation disc, but, yeah, I personally didn't participate in the routing, but, like, for example, in Final Fantasy VII, all of the quote-unquote random encounters aren't even random. They're all tied to a step count, and your encounters are routed out through the entire game, which, requires a lot of memory.
It's just so insane. Yeah, I think that's what's cool about speedrunning, though, is like people can find different fun, and some people have fun routing out every single step, which I think is insane. But some people think that's fun, so that's awesome. You know.
Oh yeah.
I would imagine that your history in Guitar Hero and games like that would help your menuing too. It's kind of the same kind of skills, I imagine.
Yeah, I kind of guess so. I don't know. Like, Guitar Hero's kind of taught me how to, like, you know, see a sign or something and then react accordingly to it. And, yeah, I guess it's the sort of same thing where it's like, okay, you open up a menu, you see everything there for a split second, and it's like, okay, go. You know, just
cool.
React, you know, every idle second is against you with menuing. So I don't know. It literally is like one of my favorite parts of the runs to really, zoom through that.
We're not talking to some kind of, you know, you're not a casual Final Fantasy VII player here. You're a Final Fantasy X player here. You are on the top of the leaderboards, my friend. You are first in Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X in some categories, of course.
For console HD remaster on Final Fantasy X, yeah. Because they split it between PC, because PC you can skip the FMV or the full motion video cutscenes.
You know, are you a person that's driven by this? You want to get first? Is this the main goal in your speedrunning is to be the first on top of those leaderboards?
You know, I mean, to an extent, I feel like everybody's got that kind of drive. But, like, really what it is, well, one is the love for the game. But in terms of speedrunning, I just want the run that doesn't look ugly, you know, that doesn't have any blemishes. So it's like, you know, if I beat X person, but my run still has a thing where, you know, I lose a crap load of time to something going not too well, I'm still gonna want to beat my time. Okay. So yeah, like, I don't know, it is cool, you know, to have the top time, but if you know there's room for improvement, you know, you owe it to the game to make it happen, sorta. I feel like speedrunning is like fulfilling the prophecy of, like, the perfect run, so to say, you know? If it's not to that point, you're not done yet, you know?
I think we just found the quote for this episode right there. Fulfilling the prophecy of the perfect run. Perfect, right there.
Yeah, literally.
That sounds good to me. I mean, that makes sense. Like, so it's not about, like, you know, the notoriety and, hey, I'm first. It's more about playing the best you can play, showing what a good run looks like.
Yeah, really, like, yeah, because, you know, if I get a good PB or whatever, and I go back and I see something that was wrong, I was like, oh, I guess we're not done yet. I could totally do that better.
Yeah, so, I mean, you're most of the games you play are actually pretty, you don't choose any short games here, do you?
You know, recently I have been expanding, but I definitely started off with long runs. Like, the first one I learned was Final Fantasy VII, of course. And then I was like, okay, you know, we learned the 8-hour speed run. Let's learn the 10.5, 11-hour speed run. I mean, now I've gotten it down to 10 hours, but at the time I was doing like 10.5 hours. Yeah, so those are my two longest runs, but after that, you know, I picked up Banjo-Kazooie 100%, which 2.5, and then after that I picked up Breath of the Wild, actually, which I got down to under 50 minutes for the 80% category. Nice. That was, I mean, granted, that is a high... That run gets so stressful, but, I don't know. It's cool to have the bite-sized runs. I also picked up Donkey Kong Country 2 any percent, which is under an hour. I just picked up Mario Odyssey any percent, which is under hour and a half.
Nice.
You know, been trying to expand with shorter games recently, just to have a little bit of variety. But I am learning another Final Fantasy game at the start of the year, so we're gonna be adding another large one.
Another substantial one for sure.
Oh yeah.
So how about let's get people jealous here. So you can you to practice an RPG, these to do a run takes 8 hours. You must have some time on your hands. So what is your life? So as detailed as you want to get. Are you streaming full time? Are you
Oh
working
yeah.
part